Hello and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, my name is Natasha. Nice to meet you. I'm going to share with you today how we budget, and thank you so much for clicking on this video because I'm sure there are many ways that you could go about this, and this is just one more method that I think works very successfully. It's worked very well for us, and I hope that this can be beneficial to you. Now I'm going to break this video up in a few sections, and I'll leave the chapter headings down below if you want to skip to a certain section. I'll explain to you how our budget sheet looks and how it works. And then I'll walk you through what I do each week or each month to keep track of our spending, and then I'll share the benefits of doing it this way. And then I'll quickly touch on what if you're in debt or self-employed, and then finally some tips about how we make this budget sheet work for us each month and how we successfully got out of debt and are saving money each month. The main goal of budgeting is to make sure that your input is not larger than your output. So the money that you have coming in every month is not less than the money that you're actually spending on the other end. And the way that we keep track of that is this Excel spreadsheet. I make a spreadsheet like this every single month. I'll change up the calendar month, and then each week is laid out with the dates. And the reason for this is because although we have a monthly budget plan, I do treat it week by week, and there's a reason for this, and I'll get to that later in the video. Now, saving money can be a real trick, but I think that if you can manage your finances in this way, you could actually save a lot of money. We've been able to save a lot of money this past year, and I think that it is due to the success of this budget sheet. Now, it really kind of crunches on the spending, making sure that you're staying within these reasonable barriers that you set for yourself so that you are not overspending and you are making sure that your output is not more than your input. On the left-hand side, I've got two sort of categories. The first one is the absolute must spends. So these are expenses that we can't get around. Things like rent, a phone bill, insurance. That is an absolute must, and so that's kind of in my first category of spending. And then I've got a second category of spending, which are costs that will fluctuate depending on how much we need to buy, let's say groceries, or how much we travel that month in gas. These are variables, and so I've kind of listed them separately because that can go up and down depending on how much we need or want. In this second section, I've also got our personal spending, so that is totally dependent on how much we allow it to be that month. And then I have a section at the top, which is where we'll fill in our income for the month. It's generally the same, but sometimes there are variations. Maybe someone gets a bonus or someone misses a day of work, then it will change slightly. So I leave this open so that I can fill it in as each check comes in. And then at the bottom, I have a place to record what our bank account is at the beginning of the month, where our savings is at the beginning of the month, and then I can record at the end of the month once our bills are paid, and we can tally up how much we saved that month. So how this works is I'll set up this budget sheet every month, print it off, and then put it right on our fridge. And then each week or so, sometimes every other week, I'll take this sheet and sit down with our credit card bill and our bank account statement, and I will record every single expense that we spent money on, money coming in and money going out, on this sheet. Now this does something amazing. First of all, you get right up close and personal with every number. It is really annoying to write down a whole bunch of expenses, so that kind of keeps it down. All those little kind of expenses are sort of out there because if you've got the spender in the family, let them do this exercise and they'll stop spending real quick. No, I'm just kidding. But truly, it is something to write down every single expense and come face to face with it, but also go through the exercise of writing it all. That can be taxing if there's too much, so that may kind of curb spending. And then the last thing is that each week or every other week, I can tally up how far we are and how much we have spent thus far. Now this doesn't really matter for the section where it's the absolute expenses, we can't get around those, but for the section where we get to kind of decide, I can see every week roughly, all right, we spent about this much so far on groceries this month. Let's stay away from the grocery store for the next week or so and see if we can just come by with what's in the fridge or in our pantry instead of going to buy new things. Or, well, we've driven a lot this month. Maybe we can see how we can double up on an errand instead of running a trip 2 times. See if we can do it together on a, you can just kind of make plans as you see the month progress and you spend money. That's why we treat this week by week. More on that in a minute. So that's what we do to keep track of the budget sheet each month. And then at the end of the month, I will tally everything up right before I pay our bills, but then I have final numbers and I can sit with my husband and say, whoa, this is how we did this month. This was a bit high, this we did good on, this is how much we could save by the end of the month. And then of course that is so fun to watch the savings just increase as it just makes sense to, you know, have a little pocket of money that is there for any kind of emergency or maybe a future purchase. Now this method may change in the future. It's working for us right now to record everything this way, and it's really helped us to save a lot of money. And I think the purpose of this is because we are breaking this monthly budget up into weeks, we are getting a good close look at how much money is going out of our life every single week. And when you bring that up into perspective versus what you're actually making, you realize that every little expense that you make is money that you're trading. It's your time that you're trading. That's just really made me think about the way that we spend instead of just frivolously going. And this is also a good way to track every single week. This is how we're doing. Should I go ahead and make this purchase or can it wait till next month? This method may change in the future. Right now it's working really well for us and we've been able to save a lot of money this year this way. But it may change in future. I'm not saying that this will stay the same, but I think this can be very helpful because the trouble in our times is that we have all of these things right in front of us that we can buy at any point, which could be very hard to resist. And when you have a sheet like this and you are coming close contact with all of your expenses every week and you kind of have a summary, this can really help deter you from overspending. And I think it's those little purchases that we allow ourselves to have that can so quickly just rack up, and then we get a big surprise at the end of the month when our credit card bills are so high. And so getting a closer look every single week can help us to not overspend. We can just really watch our spending. So this is a budget video, but it's also a how to monitor your spending video, because really that is the success of it. Recording every single purchase gives you a very close look at your spending habits and can help you to just sort of keep a good tab on it so that you're not going above and beyond. Because remember, the main goal is make sure that your output is not more than your input. Now, what to do if you already have some debt? This is the exact method we use to get out of debt. We just shortened that section that allowed some personal spending and really tightened it up. I think for the first little while we had no personal spending allowance. So that meant no extra purchases of coffees, no eating out, no buying any kind of special things. But if you think about it, when you don't actually have the money to do this, you are in debt. Can you allow yourself the luxury of buying these luxurious things? Probably not. And so it is a bit of a mind shift, but we knew it would only be for a certain time until we got out of debt and we'd be able to allow ourselves some personal spending without coming to the end of the month and having our output be more than our input. So this method worked for us. We were able to get out of debt and then also be able to save very well each month. Now this will look very different for anyone who is self-employed. That's always a tricky situation, and I would say even more so you want to watch your expenses because you're not certain of your input, so you shouldn't be so luxurious with your output. I think the main section at the top where you have those must expenses should be your absolute musts, and anything beyond that should be very, very tight so that you make sure that your output is still not more than your input, especially if you're not sure of your input. Now some tips to share with you how we actually make this budget sheet work. The first thing I did was cut any kind of expenses that was mandatory each month. And so that meant letting go of an Amazon Prime account. That meant letting go of a Netflix account. Now of course, that's just for our family. And those are luxuries that we realized we could get in another way. We can still watch YouTube, we can still watch Netflix at my parents', and we can still benefit from Amazon Prime when they just purchase our order for us and we pick it up from them. And so there are ways to get around getting out of this have to spend monthly expense. And so think creatively, what could you get rid of that would actually in the long run save you a lot of money? It may just only seem like $10, but if you tally that out for the year, that's $120 that you are giving away each month. Is that really necessary? And I mean, $120 may seem like a small amount, but if you tally that up over many years, every single dollar counts. Don't be fooled. And so think about the luxury, think about what you can let go. And if you let go of, say, a Netflix account and a Amazon Prime account, that may be $240 that you are now putting in your pocket instead of spending every year. So it really racks up. Take a hard look at it. If you need to and you want to budget and save money, that is the first place that I would start. And then my second tip is think about your spending budget. And the way I've sort of restructured it in my mind is every personal dollar that we allow ourselves to spend is money that we're not putting away in the savings. So that's a few dollars away from getting to our end goal of a big purchase, or not in our emergency saving that we're just gonna have to work for to get there later. And this has really helped because, well, let's be honest, it's so easy to spend. It's so easy to see something, to want it and think, well, I can't have this. But to think about it as something that will keep you from getting to that goal faster, or delay having an emergency savings fund that you'll just have to work for to get at a later stage. Train myself to think that is something I'm still gonna have to work for to make happen, whereas I could just have that now instead of trading it for this thing that I wanna buy. For me, it's all about how I think about what I'm actually trading. And so that has really helped, for example, getting to the grocery store and thinking, okay, this is what I have in the basket. I would like to eat all these things this week or use it to make meals for our family, but wait. Is there something in here that doesn't have to be here that I could get rid of, that I could go without this week and maybe get next week instead? So I'll tally up the items in my cart, see how much I have, and then if there's something that's just over, I'll decide, what here can I let go? Maybe I can put this pack of cheese back and make do with the cheese I have at home and buy cheese again next week. When I don't need to buy eggs, or I don't need to buy this can of tomatoes. So it's just making a trade and being willing to go just one more week without something, or waiting until next month until I have a fresh budget, and then maybe I can purchase that thing. So this is not a crushing budget. It doesn't feel super strenuous, but at the same time it's a little bit difficult and it takes work to make it work. And I think this is probably because we're just living in an age where it's so easy to spend, to see, to want, to have, especially with credit cards. There's not a way where we're actually taking out money and watching those bills get less and less and less. We're just swiping a card, which makes it so easy. So this is to help combat just spending frivolously, but also somehow keeping track of it. But to keep track of it and make smart choices when it comes to our finances. Now, if you found this video helpful, please leave a comment below and let us know about it. Give this video a like so that others would know as well. And if you like content like this, please stick around. We'd love to have you catch some of the upcoming content. You can usually find me in the kitchen or out in the garden when it's a bit warmer, and we'd love to have you watch the upcoming content. Okay, I'll see you. Bye.